I spent my first 6 years in a tiny town called Guelph, living with my mother and grandmother in a small white bungalow. Nanny helped raise me. She had big, bright, clear blue eyes that were magnified by glasses the size and shape of clear sand dollars, and wore silk blouses with big floral patterns tucked neatly into her slacks or skirt. She never left the house without her hair pressed and set, lipstick applied, and often wearing a fur coat. She even got me a mini fur coat that matched one of hers, which I wore over my taffeta dresses with Mary Janes and ankle socks to see the Nutcracker, our annual ritual. I thought I was chic before ever knowing what the word meant. A man does not buy his wife fur to keep her warm, but to keep her pleasant, was something Nanny often said. She was a woman from a different era, old-fashioned, and always kept a linen hanky in her coat pocket with a Werther's butterscotch. While Nanny defined ladylike, my mother's style was textbook bohemian. She preferred Indian earth-tone cotton skirts with drawstrings that ended in tiny brass bells and wore tube tops without a bra. She almost always had fresh-cut flowers clipped in her hair and would leave a trail of sandalwood, frangipani, and spice wherever she went because Nag Champa was her go-to scent. Though every so often she'd add a spritz of a Dior perfume called Poison. My mother worked as a landscape architect for Mississauga, a small city outside of Toronto where she had grown up. One of her jobs was to preserve and protect public trees. When my friend's father, a developer, cut down a tree that was on city property, she was livid. "These trees are works of art that the earth has been cultivating for decades," she'd often say, adding, "Cutting them down is not only an incredibly violent act, but it reeks of colonialism." My mother, having been told she was part Inuit, identified with the Indigenous people in Canada. It was made known to me from a young age that Christopher Columbus was no hero, but instead a rapist and colonizer. "This is not our land," she would say. "We are guests who are obligated to care for it." While my father's visits were fleeting, my nanny was my rock, and from her I received unconditional love. But like so many things in life, it was complicated. She taught me how to cook pancakes, which we made together every Sunday morning before heading to church. We'd sing along to the Mary Poppins soundtrack, the volume turned way up, belting, "Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down," at the top of our lungs. She also sang, "Eeny, meeny, miny, mo," to me at bedtime, in her soft, soothing voice while wiggling each of my toes, one of my sweeter childhood memories. Until one morning when I was sitting cross-legged on my kindergarten classroom carpet, singing this song to the doll I was playing with, when I got to the stanza, "Catch a nigger by the toe." I heard my teacher suck in air, as if she'd been hit in the chest. She stopped mid-stride and turned toward me. Her face was pinkish red. "Aurora," she said in a stern voice that I had not heard before, "come with me this instant." She seemed upset and marched me to the principal's office. I had no idea what I had done. The next thing I remember is my mother arriving, looking flustered. We never spoke about race in my family. All I knew was that my mom was white, my dad was black, and I was somewhere in between, which at that point in my life mostly meant that my hair was a little hard to manage. I was also the only brown girl in my kindergarten class. I don't remember my mother explaining to me what the song meant or why I got in trouble for singing it, but I do recall that when we got back home, she lectured my grandmother, who appeared confused and hurt, and now I understand why. As much as she loved me, she was a product of her environment. Racism is not a thing that can be simply named and cured. It must be actively identified and then consciously unlearned. Nanny never sang that song to me again, which was hard for me. I loved the tenderness of those moments, just me and Nanny, her soft fingers pulling my toes and then itsy-bitsy spidering up my legs to my belly. While her singing that song to me in a sweet way did not make her any less racist, it also did not make me love her any less. Both things can be true. My grandmother was born in 1916. She had antiquated views, and they showed up in the songs she sang and the comments she made. She referred to all Asian people as the Chinese. My father never lived with us, and I never made the connection between him and the way my nanny felt about black men in general. She never said they were dangerous or to be feared, but I knew she felt this way because she would squeeze my hand and hurry me along or hold her purse a little closer to her chest if we passed a person of color on the street. My grandmother also sponsored dozens of kids living in Africa, sending $20 or even $100 bills in the letters that we wrote together to Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. I did not yet have language for colonialism or white saviorism. I was 6. And still, these relationships with my grandmother's paid pen pals helped me understand the complexities of my privilege. I had food, education, and access. Imagine being in Simon's shoes, she'd say.